Hi, everyone. Welcome to today's Our Community Stories. This is, I think, the 16th in our series, learning about Durham history, but especially focusing on stories that have often been hidden or maybe forgotten or inaccurate. To better understand our Durham communities, we're learning about this history. Durham is a place of diverse cultures, experiences, and perspectives. And our community stories is a dedicated space for sharing histories from Durham's marginalized and underrepresented communities. These stories help us build a fuller understanding of how the Bull City came to be what it is today. They help us understand more about the diverse cultures and communities in Durham. And they inspire us to imagine a future where everyone feels safe, supported, and valued. This month, we're learning about Lincoln Hospital School of Nursing. And today's speakers will share stories of joy, struggle, and the lasting impact of this community. Thank you for joining us. As always, this is brought to you by the City of Durham Neighborhood Improvement Services Department. I'm part of the Equitable Community Engagement team. My name is Laura Biediger. You can learn more about our work on durhamcommunityengagement.org and follow us on Facebook, Durham Community Engagement. And now I will turn it over to Dr. Evelyn Wicker to introduce the other speakers and share about Lincoln Hospital School of Nursing. Thanks.
Good afternoon. And first, let me thank you, Laura, and the Durham Community Engagement for inviting us to share our story about Lincoln Hospital School of Nursing. As was stated, I am Dr. Evelyn Wicker, a 1963 graduate of Lincoln Hospital School of Nursing. I am retired, of course, and live in Fuquay, Varina. I'm pleased to engage in this conversation with my fellow Lincoln nurses, my sisters, and colleagues who also attended Lincoln Hospital School of Nursing. For 3 years, Lincoln Hospital School of Nursing was our home away from home. It was our family, and it was the education that prepared us to be contributing members to the healthcare community. Many are contributing on a state level, national level, as well as internationally. Lincoln nurses have been integral into the healthcare arena in Durham. And there is probably not a healthcare institution within the Triangle area that has not had the hands from Lincoln Hospital School of Nurses. Through the troubling times of from 1903 to 1971, we have survived, not only survived, we have thrived. We have, despite the challenges, we've overcome the barriers and the obstacles. We credit our successes to our families and to the leadership at Lincoln Hospital School of Nursing, starting with Julia Latta, who was the first superintendent of nurses there, who was responsible for the hospital, as well as the care for the patients, through Miss Lucille Zimmerman Williams, who many of you may know, who was our last director of nursing. They taught us to be disciplined, to be respectful, to be responsible, to be loyal, and committed to our purposes and goals, and to have pride in what you do. And they also renewed our sense of spirituality, because most of us came from homes where the work ethic was very strong and religious principles were practiced. As a teen in the 60s, there were limited career opportunities for women. I was scripted into nursing. My mother had wanted to be a nurse, and she was a lay midwife, but she did not have the opportunity to attend school. So I became the nurse. I lived on a farm, and I had taken care of the babies. I was the babysitter, so that was kind of natural for me. So nursing for me became a fulfillment of my mother's dream that she could not fulfill, but I've never regretted it. I came to Lincoln because I had a cousin who had graduated from Lincoln, and she spoke very highly of it. Also, it was very inexpensive, and it was close to home. I only applied to one school and was selected to come to Lincoln. Now, I was the valedictorian of my class, so I figured, okay, I should be able to be successful in this. Most of the students who came to Lincoln came from up and down the Eastern Seaboard, all the way to Texas. And most of them had been valedictorians in their classes. The academic requirements at Lincoln were strenuous, and so we needed to have students who were very good and who could meet the challenge. Lincoln Hospital and the administrators chose the best. So now what I would like to do is introduce to you two of the best and let them tell you about their time at Lincoln and share about themselves. Patricia Blue and Carolyn Henderson.
Hello, my name is Patricia Blue, Patricia Martin Blue. I came to Lincoln Hospital School of Nursing in 1962 from Childersburg, Alabama, a small town with a population of 5,000 individuals. I chose Lincoln because of its affordability. I needed a viable living to make a viable living, because I hadn't planned to go to nursing school or any school after graduation. But after working one summer, not a half a summer, for $15 a week, I decided I had to go to school. So I rushed to get into Lincoln. My first goals were to be a physician, and then my second one after that wasn't affordable, was to be an interior designer. Well, my mother said I was starved trying to be an interior designer. So I ended up fulfilling that dream of mine by attending nursing school, because the nursing program allowed me to really participate in developing and designing health programs and health facilities. So I really got to design as I had wanted to for my career. So nursing is very broad and offers you many opportunities. So that's why I ended up nursing.
Good afternoon. I'm Carolyn Henderson, and I am a graduate of the last class of Lincoln Hospital School of Nursing. Little did I know that that was a legacy that we would leave. I am from a little town called Kinston, North Carolina, in Lenoir County. And it wasn't quite a permanent decision because I never thought I'd leave my parents. I was going to be in Kinston, but that was quickly changed as I spent several summers in taking in tobacco and finally working into a hospital as an operating room technician. My father always wanted me to be a professional person. And during those years, teachers were those professions. But when he became ill at 16, we took care of him at home. And so until he died, I took on the opportunity at 16 years old to take care of my father. And he was my very first patient, and a good one he was. So needless to say, my desire to become a nurse was somewhat solidified by caring for my father at 16 years old. So my aunt, I didn't know about Lincoln Hospital, but she came as a patient. And I discovered why she came, because she wanted to go where people looked like her. She was an African-American female, and she wanted to be cared for by professionals. So it was decided that I would apply. I applied to 3 schools, one in my own hometown, which was an all-white school, of which I was denied during that particular year, 1968, and 2 other schools, but Lincoln said, come to Durham. And I was more excited about the opportunity to come to Lincoln because this was my first admission and the others didn't matter. So I was delighted to be able to come, and little did I know what a great professional, social, and emotional experience and spiritual experience I would have there. Never regretted the decision to come to Lincoln and to be an alumna of Lincoln Hospital School of Nursing.
Thank you, ladies. So now, how did Lincoln come to be? Well, Durham in the late 1800s and the early 1900s was just beset with deplorable health conditions, which was no different than other communities. There was muck and mire in the streets. The streets were unpaved. Communicable diseases were rampant. But communicable diseases know no boundaries. There were two distinct populations in Durham, the Black population and the white population. And there was a white hospital, Watts Hospital, for the white citizens, and there was a nursing school for the white nurses, Watts Hospital School of Nursing. And there was a Black hospital in Raleigh, St. Agnes Hospital, but that was quite a few miles away. So it was decided we needed something to take care of the Black. It was decided by those in power. We needed to be able to take care of the Black patients. So through the efforts of Dr. Moore, Aaron Moore, who was the first Black physician in Durham, and several notable people in Durham, educators, and the Duke family, who had wanted to do a monument for the slaves who had been helpful to them during the Civil War, it was decided that instead of a monument, it'd be much more appropriate and serviceable to have a hospital for the care of Blacks. So with that, Lincoln Hospital was established in 1901. Now, because there was a hospital, who's going to take care of the patients? So that created a need for nurses to be able to take care of the patients. So Lincoln Hospital School of Nursing was established in 1903 through the efforts of Julia Latta with one of the physicians, okay? She was the first director of nursing called supervisor, Dr. Charles Shepard and Ms. Latta. She was a supervisor. Now, the School of Nursing first started as a 2-year program and later became a 3-year nursing program. So from 1903 to 1971, the Omega class of Miss Carolyn Henderson, there were 644 graduates of the School of Nursing. That was a total of 68 years. Now that might seem that that's not a lot of people, but that was. The classes average about 10 to 12 people per year. Some classes, of course, were much bigger than that. So those 68 people, those 68 years and those 644 nurses, women became eligible to become RNs. The training school initial was called the training school, and later in the 30s, it became a school of nursing. Now, all the nursing programs are regulated by the Board of Nursing. They had to meet the requirements for the hours of training and so forth, the grades, the hours, the clinical experiences for the patients. Even though many of the hospitals or the schools of nursing had poor resources of dollars as well as faculty. Now, throughout the years of Lincoln, there were struggles. There were lots of struggles. There were financial struggles. There were struggles for patients. But our leaders never let us know. In fact, I was oblivious to the fact that there were these problems. And many of our fellow students were probably oblivious also. Now, just an aside, because of finance and faculty and all those things, many nursing schools closed because it was expensive to run a nursing program. And that's what happened to a lot of the Black programs. Now, I mentioned that there was a white hospital for the white patients and a nursing school. But Lincoln closed in 1971, sadly. There was just a confluence of issues that came together. But Watts Hospital today, Watts Hospital School of Nursing today, is Watts College of Nursing. And that's wonderful. But as I reflect on it, I'd also say that's simply politics. Now, Watts did hire Black nurses. In fact, one of my classmates who graduated with me was the first African-American nurse instructor at Watts Hospital. And they also admitted African-American students. So let's look at the training and education of our nurses. Now, as I said earlier, the nursing school was our home. It was our school. The residence was our school plus home where we lived. It was our laboratory. It was our library. It was our beauty parlor. And it was the center of our social activities. So there were two residents over the years of the school. The first was the Stokes Nursing Home, which was a Plank building, and then A.B. Duke Nursing Home, which was named by one of the Duke family members, Andrew B. Duke. Our educational program was directed by Director of Nursing. As I said, the first superintendent was Ms. Latta, and after Ms. Latta, Ms. Carter, and we remember Ms. L.Z. Williams, who was the last director. Our educational program was also included our staff nurses in the hospital. Many of the staff nurses taught us, as well as physicians taught us. Ms. Sylvia Richardson, Sylvia Overton, was an assistant director of nursing and was very important to us, and she still lives in Durham, North Carolina. Miss Lucille Williams, if you look at her picture, you see she was an epitome of a professional nurse. Her starch white cap, her starch white uniform, and handkerchief in her pocket. And she always said, your patients will see your smile first, and after your smile, they will see your hands. So she encouraged us to always keep our hands beautiful. So she was coiffed, and her hands were always immaculately manicured. And she would also tell us that you nurses, you students cannot afford to be casual. And we always have remembered that. And if you see a Lincoln nurse, their appearance maybe will let you know that, because that was something that she ingrained into us. The curriculum of study was very difficult. Now, they admitted the best. You were not expected to fail. If you fail, you went home. Now, I think in the latter years, that changed. So you had to be strong to endure the workout, to endure the class hours, to endure the work hours, many times 8 to 12 hours a day. We'd go to class. We'd go to NCC, North Carolina College, which is now North Carolina Central University. And we started that in the 30s. So you'd walk down there, you'd take shortcuts, but we could not ride in cars. So whether it was raining or sleeting or snowing, whatever it was, we walked down to North Carolina College. As students, we took tremendous leadership for managing the patients in the hospital. It was very difficult. We had supervisors who were overall in charge, but most of the patient care was in fact provided by the students. And at some point that became an issue for the Board of Nursing. They were concerned about the numbers of hours that students were working, and that did become an issue. Now, one of the things about Lincoln Hospital, it was limited in its patient diversity and the census. And because of this, that was an issue for the board, because students was expected to get certain experiences from certain patients. And if you didn't have enough patients, then you could not provide those experiences for the patients. Now, really, students kind of did everything. And early on, very early on, they cooked, they cleaned, in addition to taking care of the patients. And there were times when they even administered anesthesiology for the patients who were having surgery. Now, because of the limited number of patients and the diversity of them, and we would have problems getting the experiences we needed to have affiliations. So there were affiliations at various places. Students went to Kentucky, Ohio for pediatrics and psychiatry. For the most part, Lincoln had the patient capacity for us to do the med surge, to take care of the patients with medical and surgical patients, and the ORs. But for the other areas, we had to go away. And this was included in the tuition that students paid. Now, not only though did Lincoln send its students away, but Lincoln also served the hospital and the School of Nursing as a source of affiliation for people from nursing students from the tuberculosis sanatoriums. They had to have medical and surgical general patient care. So they had to come to Lincoln in order to get that, because they could not get that at the sanatorium where they had their School of Nursing. Now, there's an axiom that says, all work and no play makes Johnny a dull boy. So it was not all work. There was play. The total person, the physical, the emotional, the mental, the spiritual, and social are very important. And that was clearly important to us at Lincoln. So Ms. Blue's going to share now about those aspects of our nursing school.
All right, to begin with, the social, spiritual, professional life and education at Lincoln was all part of our development. Our social development and education really began when we relocated to Durham, which was from small towns along the coast, along the North Carolina coast, and the Eastern Seaboard. And we moved to what was then viewed as a more progressive urban area. Upon arrival, we were greeted by upper class students and introduced to our big sisters. And these were students who were already in the program. These young ladies became treasured mentors, teachers, supporters, and protectors for the remainder of our training. And I still remember my big sisters today. Residential life was introduced to us at A.B. Duke Nursing home rather, and we had a house mother. Our house mother had assigned our rooms, and we had assigned roommates. And over the next 3 years, we lived and worked and maintained our living quarters. We adjusted to each other's personal preferences and behaviors. Our house mother inspected our living quarters once a week because they had to be maintained at acceptable standards. And we also learned to develop an interdependence upon each other through our sisterhood and the myriad of positive and negative experiences, because we had students coming in, students who were being dismissed, and students who graduated each year. So we were constantly changing our membership, our class group, if you will. My class was admitted with 23 students that entered the program, but only 10 graduated. So that gives you some idea of the dismissal rates. Etiquette and personal appearances and professional development was just as important as nursing education. So, and members of the community, one member in particular, Dr. Rose Butler Brown, a pillar in the Durham community, taught professional grooming, hygiene, communication, dining etiquettes, proper attire for all occasions. For instance, we couldn't wear pants in the street. The only time we could wear pants outside of the dormitory was for breakfast on Saturday morning. Our uniforms had to be 12 inches from the floor, shoes polished, no runs in your stockings, and we were inspected by the house mother for compliance. One of my classmates had an A, she was an A student, and she was from New Jersey. She got sent home because she refused to lower her hemline below her knees. Her parents came, but they stuck to it. That's how serious Lincoln was about professionalism in our attire. Professionally, we participated in Student Nurses Association. We had a Santa Filomena Honor Society. The students planned and developed a yearbook entitled The Scalpel. We were assigned work in the hospital, at first a few hours per day. Then we advanced to 8 hours a day on all 3 shifts. And we also ended up being charge nurses. I can remember getting off at 6 o'clock in the morning to go to breakfast so that I could attend pharmacology class taught by Dr. Gerald Stahl, the pharmacist from Watts Hospital. We had a number of physicians from Watts, Dr. Coonrad, there was Dr. Max Sheba, there were doctors from Duke, Dr. Yao. There were numbers of doctors who participated in our teaching and education at Lincoln. We also ended up participating in the Christmas choral communion with Watts and Duke students. For recreation, it was just as important for us to have recreation. And we were granted 1 late leave night a week until 11 p.m. That was real late, once a week. Our house mother inspected us as we signed out and in to the dormitory. We frequent the College Inn, the P&W across the street from the hospital, the bowling alley down Faber Street. The movies we attended was at the Center Theater, Regal, and the Rialto. And those of us who were attended some of the off-limit nightlife as well. We sneaked to the local clubs, the Birdland, the Stallion Club, Valet, Goodwill, Square Club. There were many clubs. And if we got caught, you were disciplined and sent home for a period of time. Or you may have had your stripes removed from your caps and your apron from your uniform. There was various ways we were disciplined. And some had to remain after graduation because they were gone for a month. We had a basketball team. We played DeShazer Beauty School, and we also played the Durham Business College at Whitted School. On campus, we played croquet, cards, board games, badminton, and etc. In May, we wrapped the maypole. We had an annual prom. We had Miss Lincoln Carnation. We had a Miss Sweetheart Ball for Valentine's. All these activities with our young men that we could invite. The spiritual life was just equally important. It was an essential component of our continued development and to reinforce how to love ourselves and be sensitive to others. We had an in-house chaplain who was Miles Mark Fisher IV during my time. Who led our Vesper services once per week. We were required to go to Vesper. It was mandatory that you attend unless you were working. He also served as our basketball coach, and he provided counseling for individuals who may have needed some counseling. Some of us may have gone to see him because he was very handsome, not that we needed counseling so much. We also had a choir, and we were required to participate in the choir. Didn't matter whether you could sing or not. We were also expected to attend church on Sunday, and most of us attended the surrounding churches in walking distance of the school. Those churches were White Rock, St. Joseph, Kyle's Temple, Oak Grove, Covenant Presbyterian Church, St. Mark. And the proper attire for church was mandatory, which included hats, gloves, dress, stockings, proper shoes. And the house mother inspected you for proper attire before leaving the dormitory for church as well. I have not worn a hat since I left school, and I attend church where less formal attire is acceptable. My attendance at Lincoln was from 1962 to 65, excuse me, in the middle of the desegregation movement, with much turmoil, tension, violence. President Kennedy was assassinated during this period also. Lincoln prepared us to stand with dignity and perseverance, with knowledge, with skill, with confidence, integrity, and a discerning spirit to face the daunting challenges before us during those times. Now, Ms. Henderson will share with you how we have continued after school, the same legacy and the same outstanding performance.
I'm gonna probably pick up now and before Ms. Henderson share about our legacy and how we want to maintain it.
Sorry.
That's okay, to talk about some milestones. Now, all professions have milestones. And the milestones for nursing were, number one, to be admitted. Everybody was not admitted. The second milestone, once you were admitted, that was a probation period, because it was, you needed to be determined that you were fit physically, emotionally, academically, and that you were disciplined. Now, this probation period was usually between 2 and 6 months throughout the course of the school. Now, if you made it through probation, then you were capped. You received your nursing cap. Now, the nursing cap for us was called our dignity. And we wore our nursing caps very proudly. And that was a secret as to how we kept those nursing caps so starched and so clean. Okay, so you completed the first year, you were freshman. And then you progressed to the second year. And the progression, the uniform changed. And then you became a senior. And when you became a senior, this is when most of the affiliations occurred. Okay, so then after the affiliations, you came back to Lincoln, to the School of Nursing, and then we had graduation. The graduation was a sacred event, a very sacred event. We had worked hard, we had struggled, we had cried, all kinds of things, but that was a very sacred event. And at that event, we did the Nightingale Pledge. We had to learn the Nightingale Pledge. I promised myself before God in the presence of this assembly, I'm not going to say it all, but we had to learn it, to memorize it. Now, most schools will, the instructor or one of the professors will read the pledge and the students will repeat it after them. Okay. Lincoln Hospital provided, that said, the affiliations occurred basically in the third year. And Lincoln again had provided the experiences for medical and surgical, but they needed to go away for the psychiatry and pediatrics. And Pat Blue, Ms. Blue can share with us about her affiliation in Kentucky, because this is one of the first integrated affiliations.
I was privileged to go to Lexington, Kentucky for psychiatric training. And we lived in a dormitory with the white student nurses, which was at that time a wonderment to me, because I came to Lincoln, when I came to Lincoln on the bus, and I got off when they at the bus stop to go into a restaurant, I couldn't enter the restaurant through the same door that the white students, that the white participants entered. So for me to be living in the dormitory with white students at that time, it was just, I was just in total awe. And we got along very well because we were very interested in learning each other, learning as much as we could about each other. And the most amazing thing that we experienced is how we groomed our hair. The white students used Jell-O to hold their hair in place. And we, Black students, used the hot straightening iron to smooth our hair down. So it was just an invigorating, informative, never forget experience.
Now, so a little bit about the impact of the impact of the graduates. We were expected to be leaders. We were expected to be contributing members in healthcare. Now, there's an honor roll in the book that was put together by Ms. Patricia Blue that describes the contributions of many of the Lincoln nurses. Some of those I'll just mention. One of our graduates was inducted into the Smithsonian Institute. Her picture hangs in the Smithsonian Institute. This person was also chair of the public health department at NCCU at one point. There's Ms. Della Rady, who was the first African-American nurse into the military. Ms. Lila Ruth Betts, who many of you may remember as the supervisor of the public health department, the first Black supervisor of the public health department. There are so many others. Marion Miles, who's received the Longleaf Pine Award. There was Lois Thorpe, Joan Miller, Gwendolyn Jones, Mary Pointer, Ethel Brown McCullum, one of our graduates who just recently passed. She was one of the first Black head nurses on a unit at Duke University Hospital. Now, many of the nurses have had significant roles in education, in administration, and clinical roles. And the two of my peers today had administrative positions or other leadership roles with Lincoln Community Health Center. Most of the hospitals within the areas have had Lincoln Hospital School of Nurses in leadership positions or in clinical positions. There have been parks named after Lincoln nurses. There have been buildings named for Lincoln Hospital School of Nursing. There have been military honors, the Bronze Star of those who served in Vietnam. And many of them have been active in the local community, and many continue to be active in various community initiatives, specifically related to the minority, brown and Black, the disparity in healthcare for the brown and Black communities. I believe that we have firmly, as Lincoln nurses, contribute to the Durham community and the broader healthcare. So to this point, we've talked about the School of Nursing, the students, and the activities, the social, spiritual. So now Ms. Carolyn Henderson will share with us how we want to maintain our legacy.
Little did I know that in 1968, when I entered Lincoln Hospital School of Nursing, that we would be the last class. The question is, why were we the last class? Well, I'm glad you asked. I really don't have a full answer, but we came in as bright, energetic, and ready to learn students from all over North Carolina, South Carolina, and Virginia. And at that time, we had no idea that in 1971, we would be the last class. But of course, resources, as Dr. Wicker mentioned, for Lincoln Hospital became somewhat scarce. And of course, operating a nursing program was expensive even at that time. And of course, we were students in this class, the picture you see in 1971, as other classes, actually staffed a lot of Lincoln Hospital. So you can see that one could not really exist and survive and thrive without the other. So perhaps it was the writing on the wall that ultimately that we would lose our dear school and our hospital. As we thought about coming into Lincoln, we had some experiences too. Some of them were social, but most of ours were professional. They were determined to continue the strict, expected high level of nursing care and education and preparation to pass the Board of Nursing that they had always admonished in the years before. So we were the only ones there. So needless to say, they gave us all they could give us, and we had to return it. How many of you know today that you had a grading scale of A being 99 to 100? That was still there when we came in 1968 and existed until 1971. A very stringent expectation, but we had to make it. We had 21 students to be admitted when we came in 68. And as has been previously mentioned, Lincoln was not known for its largest classes, but it was known for very effective classes. So only 14 remained and graduated. Lincoln has always been a part of the community. It was our duty to not only to provide excellent care, but also to be able to participate in community activities. And of course, if you were an outstanding student, you were acknowledged for that. I remember having been chosen to actually be a sitter for one of our prominent families in Durham when they wanted to have someone to come and sit with their family members. That was an honor to be able to be selected to do that. So you can see that Lincoln started when you came to provide an opportunity for you to become a professional nurse and an efficient nurse and someone who truly would always give excellent patient care. We too had affiliations. We ended up at Children's Hospital outside of Lincoln Hospital with the various nursing programs that we experienced were unique to us as well. Cincinnati was our first integrated affiliation, as well as going to Butner for our psychiatric. And again, right in Durham, we went to Watts Hospital to try to have additional experience in obstetrics and gynecology. And going to Watts, we were still faced with the segregation of being African-American professional student nurses. When we arrived there, we were told that we were to experience any additional kinds of clinical experiences that would enhance us in preparation for our Board of Nursing. Of course, there were downtimes because sometimes babies were not born. So there were times that we were not necessarily in the clinical area. And then during those downtimes, we were told that we were to sanitize and clean the areas. And of course, we made phone calls back to our instructors and asked, is that something that we should be doing? And of course, they said, absolutely not. You are professional students. And when you're not actually in the clinical areas, experiencing and learning and being educated and trained, you are to study and to prepare for your state board. So needless to say, yes, we did face some areas of certainly racism during the 1970s. That was the time that we actually went to Watts School of Nursing. Ironically, two of my nursing classmates were two of the integrated ones to go there to first work in their operating room there. Cordelia Quarles Bickham and Lamona McCoy, two of the first to go there and work at Watts Hospital, interesting enough. Well, during the times that we were at Lincoln, we thought that this was it. But back in 1938, there was a baby reunion that had already started before us. And as you can see, many, many, many babies were born. And I take pride in hearing from a lot of individuals here in Durham that they were Lincoln babies. And ironically enough, in 1938, our Lincoln Hospital School of Nursing alumni was formed and created. That was, I think, the beginning of our legacy in terms of having a Lincoln Hospital School of Nursing Alumni Association. And so, yes, indeed, we became the Omega class of 1971. That graduation was almost considered a reunion because nurses from all over the United States came back to St. Mark AME Zion Church for graduation, where we, at that point in time, had the privilege of seeing the wonderful nurses who had graduated previously before us. And our commencement speaker, another legendary graduate, 1934 Captain Mary Mills. She was well known for her international training and education all over the United States and beyond. As a matter of fact, a dormitory was named in her honor in Beirut, Lebanon. And she also spoke very fluently four languages. And you will see in this picture of our 2003, she is the one who is in the uniform that attended. That was our 100th anniversary. And more than 100 nurses were able to come back and experience that wonderful time together with us. As you know, this was held at the Sheraton Imperial. And then, of course, a part of our legacy is continuing with our reunions each year. The last in-person reunion was the one 2019, where we actually gathered together again at the Sheraton Imperial. Of course, this year, because of the pandemic, we had a virtual reunion, which it was still great to be able to just be able to view virtually over 40 of our alumni and guests to celebrate with us. So that's one of the ways that we're continuing to have our legacy, but not the only way. We also, in addition to that, we have been fortunate to be also affiliated as well, our class, with then North Carolina College, but now North Carolina Central University, where we also took our classes, and we also had to walk there as well. No one still did have cars, even in the 1970s. And we're fortunate now to have an endowed scholarship, Lincoln Hospital School of Nursing endowed scholarship, in cooperation with the GlaxoSmithKline. And this is something that will live beyond us, and we're indeed proud of this. To date, we have given well over $66,000 in scholarship to well over 52 nursing students and the Department of Nursing at North Carolina now Central University, where each student receives no less than $1,000 per scholarship. Along with this, we also have a classroom that has been named and dedicated to our honor there in the Department of Nursing. This was led by Dr. Wicker, and we were very proud to have this there with the School of Nursing to let those students know about the contributions of Lincoln Hospital School of Nursing. And while we do have various kinds of memorabilia, we wanted to make sure that someplace they were stored, that hopefully individuals be able to see and to hear and to continue to know about our history and the contributions that we made during our tenure at Lincoln. And so at North Carolina Central, we have our archives there at the James E. Shepherd Library, which we are very proud at this point to be able to have those housed there for your viewing and also for finding out for later information. In addition to that, led by Gloria King, we were able to also have a monument, which is now on the grounds of Lincoln Community Health Center, along with the bricks surrounding it, where the community assisted in purchasing bricks and also having their names around our monument so that we would have some mechanism of perpetuality being seen as it relates to us. We're very proud of that. And not only is it special, but it's also there where the hospital once was. So that gives us another opportunity to reflect on the experiences that we had at Lincoln and while we were students there. But now, as we continue to move into the future, one of the most proudest moments for us is the book Voices by Dr. Evelyn Wicker. This provides a true compilation of the history of Lincoln Hospital School of Nursing and its wonderful graduates, and also the contributions and experiences that they've had. It's hopeful that this will live certainly above and beyond many of us knowing that our last class of 1971 ended the era of students having the wonderful experience from Lincoln Hospital School of Nursing. I cannot say enough, being one of those graduates, that I was indeed fortunate, proud, and will forever give Lincoln the credit for me being the professional nurse that I became, and celebrating our 50th year this year is truly a milestone for me and my other classmates. And for that, we are eternally grateful for Lincoln Hospital School of Nursing.
Thank you, Carol. In our audience today, I would dare say that there are many of you who had not heard of Lincoln Hospital School of Nursing. The average individual who is 50 years or less would never have known about Lincoln Hospital. That's one of the reasons the book was written. It was important to historically document what we did, what Lincoln was all about, and we were there. We know the stories. Now, we should be more involved than we are, and I think that's happening now. More people are beginning to write their stories. This book was also intended to be a source of motivation for young men and women that nursing would be a wonderful career. It's a source of role models who would say to you that whatever your goal is, with a determined mind and dedication and discipline, you can achieve anything you want to do. Nursing is a wonderful career, as all three of us have talked about. Where else could you experience and witness the vulnerabilities of people? You see the entry into life. You hear the baby cry, the first cry. You care for individuals along the spectrum from illness and the transition to their eternal resting places. Where else could you experience this than in nursing? Now, I'd like to close this with a quote from Voices. It's fairly long, but I want to read it because I think it's very important. The greatness by which a nursing school may be judged or is judged is dependent upon the women who go forth from it and the humility with which they serve the people, no matter what capacity. The quality of mercy is not yet strained. It is reflected magnanimously toward the institution by individual performance. I think this captures Lincoln Hospital School of Nursing very well. And it was written in the scalpel in 1948 edition. Now, there is so much about Lincoln Hospital School of Nursing in this book that we could not share with you. But this is a plug, but you can get the book and read more about it if you would like. And the book, I think there may be a reference, can be gotten from Amazon.com. Thank you again, Laura, for inviting us. This has been a pleasure for us to reflect and reminisce about our School of Nursing.
you, Dr. Wicker and Ms. Henderson and Ms. Blue. I also wanted to recognize Ms. Carol Johnson, who was going to join us today, but wasn't able to join us. So thank you for helping plan this event and sharing all of your stories. Unfortunately, I don't think that we'll have time for questions today, but we will I'll try to see if I can share any information with the speakers and answer questions quickly via email. But I will also share, I have the one copy of the book that Dr. Wicker wrote from the library. So I will return it immediately so that other people can get it, but also hopefully the library will get more copies if you don't buy them on your own. It is truly a treasure, and trying to choose from the photos in here and all of the stories and all of the really notable alumni. It's really a treasure. So I highly recommend it to purchase or borrow from the library. Thank you again to all of the staff, as always, who help us to put these events together. It's truly my favorite time of the month, getting to meet all of these amazing Durham residents and learn about stories and places that unfortunately aren't with us anymore, but their legacies can continue through events like this and for some of the other efforts that they've talked about today. And thank you to my department and city leadership for supporting this work. As always, these events will be posted online. You will be able to see it on our City of Durham YouTube page. Again, this is the 16th of these, so all of those will be available. And they also show on the Durham Television Network. Locally, that's normally channel 8. If you have a satellite, it's probably a different channel, but if you search for the Durham Television Network, it has been showing normally, these show regularly on Saturdays and Sundays around 12 p.m. So if you check scheduling for that. I wanted to highlight one of the ones this month, West End. We did it, this is from last year, West End history featuring Polly Murray. And then Polly Murray, as you may know, also has a movie. There's a movie out about her right now, so it's very timely. And then you can see a listing of some of our other recordings. Coming up next month, Friday, November 19th, the Office on Youth, the City of Durham's Office on Youth is gonna do kind of a youth takeover of this event, and they will be fully hosting and organizing the event for November, and hearing history again, but especially from people who were activists in their youth. So especially around the civil rights time. So I'm very excited to share that with you all, and I hope that you will tune in. You can always register at durhamcommunityengagement.org. And that's it for today. Thank you so much.